Hello and welcome to part 15 of the Johnny Blender 2.0 series. Before I get started in this tutorial, I just want to show you I've kind of arranged my folders here. All the Blender files. I've kind of divided them up into some folders for a little more neatness here. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the folder 14, which has the reference pictures, the UV map grids, the Blender file itself, and then our tangent normal map and our skin map. So I'm just going to copy all that, Control C, Control V, to a new folder, and we'll go ahead and name this one JB15. And I'll go in here, and these reference pictures are pretty big. All of those are 41 megabytes. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that folder because I don't really need it anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and rename this. We named the folder already, so let's go ahead and name the Blender file here, just to keep things uniform. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this. And I'll scrunch down Blender till it fits in the recording window. Okay, so now let's go ahead and divide this up. Now what we're going to do now is clean up the texture map a little bit more. So if I load it in here, and let's go JB Skin. You can see we still got the dark hair around the ears and things like that. So let's take a look at it in the textured view over here. And let's grab our model and just center on him. So we need to come in here and we need to clean these up. We could do it in Gimp, but it's a little difficult to get things lined up perfectly straight. Like, for example, I want to paint some flesh tone down here along the side of the ear, and then it'll also spread over to the side of the face. Well, here in Blender's texture painting, I can just paint it, and it'll pretty much even out itself. But if I try to do it in Gimp, it'll take a very long time to try to get it lined up perfectly when it's so much easier just to paint it on in here. So that's what we're going to do. I'll go ahead and go to Texture Paint, and we need to change our brush settings. So let's scroll down here. First thing, turn it off of Clone, just back to Draw, and then our brush still has some texture on it from, I guess, when we were sculpting, so we'll just go ahead and delete that. And go ahead and select our color here, and we'll get our eyedropper tool and just go ahead and select the color that we have on our scalp. Okay, and now we're ready to paint. So let's go ahead and make our brush size a little bit smaller. Let's zoom in here, and we'll just start cleaning this up. And then we might even come back into Gimp after we get this cleaned up, so we can have some clean up the edges a little bit, kind of like we have along the top of the scalp that bleeds into the color. We can do that along the other parts as well. So we'll just paint out the dark, nice and easy. Okay, and on this side. Now some of this, the seam overlapping that you can see sometimes when we apply the subsurface scattering that we're going to put on there after a while, it'll kind of blur it together. So it's not a huge deal as long as it's not a really big difference. If it's just a subtle difference, then we'll be able to take care of it for the most part. Okay, so that's pretty decent, I guess. Let's go ahead and save this image. Okay, now let's pop into Gimp, and let's go ahead and open that up. And I gotta find it again here. Blender files. JB 2.0, and we're on part 15 there. So JB Skin, open up. Okay, now let's zoom in here. Remember, hold down Control and scroll your mouse wheel, and get the old Band-Aid, the healing tool, and we'll just hold down Control and just click in here to get our sample area, and then just kind of paint around the edges there just to have a better transition. Let's make our brush a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, now let's do this with some of the other area over here. Control to get our selection. Let me make my brush a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too big. There we go. Just kind of paint. Oops. Gotta watch where you're doing. Can't just hold it down because your selection area will also change as you're moving your mouse. The selection area also will move. So, okay, and let's go over to this ear. It looks all good. Let's go ahead and zoom out, and let's get around this edge right here. Actually, let me go ahead and select a new control spot. There we go. And on this side, look over here. Just go right up to the edge there, but don't cross over it. That'll help keep things from having a seam. It won't totally prevent it, but it'll help out. Okay, and then on the other side of the face. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom back out so we can take a peek. So I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and save that. Okay, we'll pop back into Blender and image reload. Okay, looks like it kept it loaded already. So now let's take a look at it over here. And looks pretty well cleaned up. There is some issue going on right here. And let's see, I think that's due to this area right here. So let's pop back into Gimp and let's zoom in right down here. And let's kind of run the healing brush just over that just a little bit. About like that. Now let's save it. Back to Blender. Reload. Well, that was where the issue was, but it kind of made it worse, didn't it? Well, I guess, let me open up the folder again. Let's go back to 14, grab the old reference pictures and copy them. Let's go back to 15, go ahead and paste them. Okay, because I'm going to have to do some projection painting again, so let's turn this back to clone and make sure we're going to use the left photo, and we'll just brush this back on here. Clean that up. There we go. Now we'll have to go back and fix right there where the ear connected. And you know, while I'm at it, it looks like there's going to be a seam right here, so let's go ahead and gently touch that area up right there too. Okay, that'll have to work. And we'll go ahead and save. Back to Gimp. If I can find it in my... There we go. Oops. Well, where is it? There we go. Can't find that thing down in my... There it is. Okay. Blah. Okay, and we'll go File, Revert, Revert. Okay, and that just reverts back to the last saved mode, which we saved it in Blender, so that was the last saved mode. So, okay, so I'm going to use the healing brush again. Go ahead and select in here. Clean this up. And then go ahead and clean this up right there. Okay. So now I think we should be good. Go ahead and save. Back to Blender. And reload. And there we go. Looks like we got one more little piece there. And I believe, yes, right here. So let's zoom in here. Clean this back up. Okay. Now, save. And now, reload. There we go. Okay. So we're going to say that facial texture is done. So we'll say image save, even though we don't need to, we haven't changed it. Okay, now, well, I said we're done with the texture. We still need to do the teeth and gums and tongue and everything, which is invisible right here. So how do we get those to know where we paint them? Well, back to Gimp, and now we'll open up this SVG file that we made a long time ago. Go ahead and open that. And, oops, actually, That's the wrong one. Well, I guess we'll need to open the tangent file. There we go. And let's just Control A, select everything. Oops. I am not used to Gimp. It doesn't behave the same way as Photoshop, which I am used to. Select all. There we go. Edit. Copy. And then we'll go to the skin map here and go Edit, Paste. And it's quite a bit bigger. So we need to go Tools, Transform, Scale. And we'll just do it manually here on the sides. Just grab the corner. It's not moving it. Okay, you gotta click in the middle to move it. And a lot of you Gimp users are like, it's right there. Forgive me. I'm a Photoshop guy. Okay, so we'll get that lined up. And we'll call that good. Scale. Okay, so now we can see where to put our textures for our teeth and gums and stuff. I think that pasted it down to the background. I don't want that. Edit. Undo. Let's go back to the heel. There we go. And now we'll back to the layers. New layer. Okay. This was off the screen, I think. And now we will paste. And then we will scale. Almost there. Okay, scale. Okay, so now we have it on a separate layer. Alright, now let's make yet another layer. Make one? There we go. Okay. And we'll go ahead and zoom in here where the teeth and mouth and everything are. And we'll just start painting there. We don't really need photo reference to paint on our teeth and everything because there's not a lot of skin variation except on the tongue, really, in the mouth. So we'll just paint not quite solid white. Even someone with perfectly healthy teeth is not going to have solid white. It'll be just a little bit of tan in there. Okay. And let's zoom in a little bit. And we'll just paint where these teeth are. You know what might be a little faster if we grab the lasso tool and just kind of go over where the teeth are. Just go ahead and select all this. And move over here and hold down Shift. You can select more, add more to this current selection. Okay. And now we'll just use the old paint bucket tool and just go ahead and fill all that in. And just hit it a couple times and I'll go ahead and fill in the gaps there. And let's do the same thing down here. Okay, hold down Shift and do the rest of it. Okay, paint bucket tool, go ahead and paint that in there. Okay, we'll go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. And let's go and make one more layer so I don't have to worry about accidentally painting over that or something. And let's go and move that down. Green arrow, there we go. Down below the teeth layer. And I will do the same thing with my my lasso tool there. And just select, let's just select everything here. And go ahead and select the tongue too, I guess. There we go. And now we'll select sort of a color of our gums, kind of a dark reddish. Probably about right there. There we go. And let's go ahead and paint. Maybe a little bit brighter. Okay. So we'll go ahead and Control Shift A to deselect that. And let's go ahead and turn off the pasted layer. Okay, looks like we're going to be all lined up. I mean, we're not going to cross over any of the original texture at all. However, I would like to go ahead and paint some of that discoloration on the tongue. Just a little bit more pale color up here. And I copied that layer. I don't want to copy it. I just want to make a new one. Trash can? No. There it goes. Okay. And get the brush tool. And let's go ahead and swap the color to white. And opacity way down. Make the scale up a little bit. And I'll just gently, oops. Need to make sure I have fade out turned on. Is that what I want? No. Brush dynamics. Hardness. I want a feathered edge. Let me see it. There we go. Just choose the brush. There we go. Just paint it on there. Too big. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so got nice, fairly realistic, and then cartoonish. But we'll see what it looks like. We'll go ahead and save. And merge visible layers, export. Okay, and now back to Blender. Go ahead and image reload. And there's our mouth. Okay, now, we're running out of time here, I think, but one thing I want to do, go back to object mode. We have our lights and everything set up, and if we render, I'll take it a second here. Okay, it looks a little rough, because, I mean, it kind of looks like just made, like it's plastic or something, so let's fix that. Let's go ahead and escape out. I want to go ahead and save this. And we're going to use what's called SubSurface Scattering. And what that is like it makes it look more waxy, sort of. The physics, the way the physics work of it, are like the light penetrates the surface and spreads out more than just a solid shade like right here, where it just kind of just reflects off. So let's go ahead and turn that on. And let's collapse all these guys so we can kind of see what's going on up here. I like to use the monkey as an example. And there's some presets here you can pick through. I usually like Skin 1 or Skin 2. I guess if you're creating an African American or a darker skinned person, you might want to go with Skin 1. But for Caucasians and lighter skinned people, you can use Skin 2. And if it's still not quite light enough, you can brighten it up even more. Kind of get an idea what's going to look like over here. Now, if we just go ahead and render after just putting that preset on there, it's going to look pretty waxy. This kind of just shows the renderer how to spread the light out there when it renders that white thing first. You can see this very waxy looking, so we need to adjust some of the settings. Let's go ahead and escape. The scale is really what controls the waxiness. The scale right here, and then the amount of RGB color here. The higher this is, and the higher this is, the more waxy it's going to look. So let's lower this way down right here. Usually 0.2 is fine. Might even need to go lower than that, but this should be fine. Let's go ahead and set the scattering weight. The front is kind of what you're seeing from your perspective, the light that's being bounced directly back to you. The back is kind of, if there was a light behind them, it's going to determine how much light's going to shine through the model light, through the ears, and then, you know, if say he had a flashlight in his mouth, it's going to determine how much light is seen through the cheeks and that kind of thing. So I like to set that up to about 3. So let's go ahead and save these settings. And one other thing that's going to affect how realistic this looks is the specular level. So let's go ahead and lower that down and lower the hardness down. The intensity is basically how much light is going to be reflected off of it, and then the hardness is how shiny it is, basically. If it's a low hardness, it's going to have a real dull sheen, but if it's a high hardness, it's going to be a very, very wet looking, very bright, very shiny. So skin is not really that shiny unless it's wet or oily or something like that. And hopefully my skin here isn't that oily, so we'll lower the hardness down and the intensity. So go ahead and save that, and we'll go ahead and render out. And hopefully this will look a lot better. Might need to make it a little bit more shiny, but you kind of get the idea. We'll look further into this the further we go, but for right now, that's going to be all of part 15. Hopefully it didn't drag out too much longer. I didn't keep an eye on the clock very closely. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 16.